Okay, well it's happened. I went for my first truck driving lesson today. 18 speed Road Ranger in a, I think it's a MAN truck, M-A-N. I think it's a B-double setup. You're able to put a B-double on the back of the truck, the way it was set up. Now, went through the gears okay. Low range and high range. Changing up's easy. I had trouble changing down because I hadn't been able to get around my mind around the idea of sort of putting it into neutral, and then it's just the clutch and gear stick that I had a bit of trouble with. So I got my mind around putting it into neutral and then giving it a rev, but just that point where you got to use the clutch and the lever to get it into gear wasn't easy for me. But changing up, no problems. I got it into let's see, 7th gear. So that's the top range, and in the 3rd normal car gearbox position. Anyway, so that's my first experience with driving a truck, indicating, turning the vehicle. On a couple of occasions I got the back of the truck or the trailer a little bit closer to the curb than I would have liked, because I didn't straighten up early enough with the middle of the road. But I found it great. You know, I enjoy driving. I like being on the road, listening to music. You know, I like driving a lot, and I personally think that that's what makes a good, you know, separates a good driver from a bad driver. A lot of the people you see not indicating and driving aggressively on the road are people that either are lost or they don't know where they're going. Sorry, either people that are lost or don't enjoy driving. So that's my first experience. 29th of the 8th 2015 is when I first went for my truck first lesson in a you know, tractor trailer or truck and trailer or lorry. Yeah, so why has it taken me this long to I mean, I'm nearly 50. I'm going to turn 50 in about 5 months. Why has it taken me this long? Alright, well, I started off racing motocross as a kid. I enjoyed that a lot. Then my timeline took a different turn, and I had to go down a different road away from mechanics or driving or riding. So what happened was I considered being a truck driver first when I was about in 1984. I considered, you know, that it'd be great to have a job where I drove around and earned money. There was nothing really available for me. I didn't really know at the time how to go about becoming a truck driver, where to start. You know, in hindsight, I should have just knocked on transport company doors as a young bloke, and they probably would have given me a go. Okay, so that was 1984. Then when I was in Brisbane, I gave it another good try. I became a taxi driver as a sort of I thought at the time as a way of sort of leading up to becoming a truck driver, getting to know the roads first, and that type of thing. Now, of course, I know that the way that you become a truck driver is licensing. Get your license. So that was in Brisbane. I did get a job and worked as a taxi driver at night. Yeah, it was a bit dangerous, but that fell through because I ran out of money, and it wasn't a very good time for me. I had to sell a few things, and I moved back to Melbourne. That was while I was a tradesman. So I'd been trying to get out of being a tradesman for a long time, about 17 years. Okay, so that was go number 2. Go number 3 was I went to Allied, I think, in Melbourne, and they were going to give me a start as a courier driver with my own truck. That fell through because I had to move up to help family in another city. So I've given it another go. I gave it another go in about 2008, around about 2010, sorry. So 2010, it took me about a year and a half to get my first job, and the only way I could do that was just to completely resign from my job and become unemployed. That was the only way that I could get out of being a tradesman and move on from being a tradesman to something I enjoyed. That worked. That worked for me. Resigning and becoming unemployed worked. That was the only way that I could become what I wanted to be, and get into driving. So then I got a job as for one day I think I was a sort of a tipper operator, getting dirt from a building site, taking it to the tip. Then I worked as a water bottle delivery driver. That was for about, I think about 1 or 2 days. The reason that I didn't go back was, number one, I was offered the job I'm still with 5.5 years later. But the main reason is because the truck didn't have any brakes. It didn't have any brakes. It was just metal on metal. And I wasn't sure at the time whether I should complain, because it took about a year and a half to get my first job. Anyway, I phoned the bloke up. The bloke phoned me, and I said, at the end of the conversation, I said, I enjoyed working for your company, but I said, your truck doesn't have any brakes. You better look into it. That's what I left him with. You better do something about your brakes in your truck. Anyway, he took it to a mechanic, and I'm not sure how it happened, but I actually met the mechanic, and I think I picked the truck up and drove it back. He rented another truck for me to drive around in for the day. So anyway, the mechanic fixed the brakes. The reason I didn't go back, as I said, is because I was offered a job. I'm still with that job. I've been trying to move on, not continuously, but for about probably 4 years. So now what I'm doing is, but don't get me wrong, I really enjoy working for the people I work with. They're a great, fantastic group of people to work for. They're all great people. It's just that my ambition is to become a truck and trailer driver, at least maybe a B-double driver. So now I'm doing something about it, and I got my first lesson today, and just kept on driving around. Went up and down the gearbox, stops and starts, and he explained where everything was in the cab. So now I've got some homework to do. I've got a CD to watch and a few notes, a few of his notes, and so hopefully this is the start of another moving on in my career. I am a driver. I drive vans, I drive 7.5 tonne trucks in the CBD all day, and with some runs out to other suburban places in the city where I live. So 7.5 tonnes, 5.5 tonne trucks I use, but I'd really like to move on now to become a larger truck driver, and who knows, maybe one day do interstate work and B-double work.